Thank you, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here to talk about my paper for the Rosicot Journal entitled Carl Gustav Jung's Active Imagination and Harvey Spencer Lewis' Mental Creation, a Brief Study. First, I'd like to thank Soror Julie Scott for this kind invitation and her wonderful staff, especially Soror Ingrid Young and Soror Karen Brashear, for their support for this conference. It's a great honor for me to be with you today, in this evening or in this morning, depending where are you on the planet. This is a great sadness for the pandemic worldwide at this moment when Mother Earth is sending us a message. It's time to review your concepts. Well, indeed, this conference we will talk about the work of four brilliant men. Two of them were creators of important approach to human development, and the other two were their most distinguished collaborators and also creator as well. To begin this, it's important to show you the basic bibliography. These five books are fundamental for this subject. These two are the biography for the main authors. These other two are the framework of the teachings, and the third one is the basis of the epistemology I work with. All of them we will find on Amazon, and the Rosicrucian ones we will find in the main websites of AMORC. These are the 5 topics I will work with in this presentation, starting with the methodology. Then we will talk about the men involved in this work, their experience, and common source. After that, we will look at active imagination and then mental creation. And lastly, the possible dialogues. This first part may be new for you, but it is fundamental to our understanding of the dialogue between the techniques. I promise it will be fast. In Western culture, knowledge is seen in a dual way, objective and subjective knowledge. Thus, we have 4 types of knowledge, 2 for the subjective perspective and 2 for objective perspective. 3 of them are specialized knowledge and 1 is not. Common sense is a subjective and not specialized knowledge. It's a local and practical based on interpersonal trust or in an injunction following an axiom. Do this and it will work. Theological knowledge is also a strong subjective knowledge but specialized, and it has the regional character. It is based on faith or in the following axiom: believe to see, or to see, you must believe. Philosophic knowledge is a wide specialized knowledge based on the capacity of mind or on an axiom. I think, therefore I am. And scientific knowledge is the strongest type of objective knowledge based on the capacity to prove hypotheses or in the axiom, see to believe, or to believe you must see. This kind of division you probably will find in any book of scientific methodology. On the other hand, you can look only to specialized knowledge, and you will find 3 types of it. The first type is the classical objective knowledge. It is disciplinary, when one science looks at his own objective. The second type is multidisciplinary. Different sciences look at the same object. And the third is interdisciplinary, two sciences exchanging their methodology to see one object. And in the field of the specialization, subjectivation, there are different religions. The worldwide religions, such as Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism, only to mention the five greats. So, multi-religious perspective occurs when each religion looks from its own perspective, and interreligious perspectives happens when religions exchange their knowledge, and syncretism is a mix of perspectives. And finally, we have a very special type of knowledge. Traditional knowledge is not a specialization of knowledge, but a holistic perspective, an integral perspective. In this very special type of knowledge, you have fluid or amalgamated single knowledge, religion, science, art, and philosophy. It's not a mix of things, but a exquisite and a special type of knowledge. Its nature, it is a native knowledge, indigenous knowledge, and so on. On the various continents, we have this kind of special knowledge, and we can also talk about secret knowledge, and belongs to a kind of tradition. In Brazil, it's very strong in the indigenous people. Brazil probably has the greatest cultural diversity on the planet, with more than 300 types of people who speak more than 240 languages. And it was in this path that I started to think about this methodology, trying to open a window between the specialization of psychology and the holistic traditional knowledge of the native people. If you want to learn more about that, look to the American Path in Google Books. Thus, we will find the circle of knowledge I work with in transdisciplinary active mediation. In the center, we have a non-resistant zone of dialogue. In 10, we use transdisciplinary concepts as a frame, as a language to create dialogue, thinking for the level of reality, the level of perception, or the level of organization in each of fields studied, trying to avoid unnecessary reduction. For example, the reduction for the traditional knowledge, descriptive concepts to scientific knowledge, theoretical concepts, as occur most in the time. After this introduction of 10, we can now talk about Carl Jung and Harvey Spencer Lewis and their common source and their common experience. Jung was tall, strong, and vigorous. His youth was marked by a lot of physical activity. He liked to climb mountains and sail. He smoked and drank. He was introspective and good-natured. He was a lover of arts, philosophical literature, and Eastern and Western mysticism. Lewis was short, stocky, and restrained. He was not physically active, a lover of arts, photography, and science with a focus on technology. He built the 50th planetarium in the United States and constructed its handmade optical star projector, the first designed and made in US. Both of them drank from the same source, the Western esotericism. The word esoteric comes from the Greek esoterikos, meaning inner. We can understand the meaning of this inner knowledge in two complementary ways. First, the internal circle of practice in one tradition, which occurs in some societies or groups. In this level, we will find mostly in the past some secret societies or groups that performed deep and counter-hegemonic studies. The traditional origins of the Rosicrucian groups were like this, often confined in inner groups of initiates. And we can also have another form of inner experience as an inner work, a kind of search for self-knowledge through certain practices, like those developed by Jung and Lewis, as we will see. Western esotericism or Western mystery tradition is perhaps the heir of native tradition of Europe, a new category of studies and science of religion, as we will find in European Society for Study of Western Esotericism, of which I am also a member. If Jung and Harvey Lewis had as a common source the inner knowledge of Western esotericism, they also have a common type of experience that is called anomalous experience. The word anomaly is not the same as abnormal, but a state of mind not understood at all times. They are altered states of consciousness that have many classifications. For example, clairvoyant experience, mystical experience, precognition, past lives, and others. These experiences are well studied in the book Varieties of Anomalous Experience, organized by the noted psychologist Stanley Krippner. Jung have terrifying experience with dark figures and impressive physical manifestation, like the cracking of tables, while Lewis experienced idyllic contacts with the spiritual planning, hear words like peace from masters. Jung and Lewis had many collaborators. In this presentation, two of them were substantial. For Jung was Robert Johnson, who had a very peculiar trajectory as a Jungian analyst, studying with Krishnamurti and Aurobindo, having an analytical training with Emma Jung, the wife of Jung. Johnson later dedicated himself to the monastic life as a Benedictine monk. He is the author of the bestseller She, He, and We, which is very successful in 70s and 80s. For Lewis, we make reference to a Frenchman, Raymond Berni. With a degree in law, he dedicated himself initially to his family business and later to AMORC. A successful author of AMORC-related material, rewrote several popular books from members in 70s, including The Secret House of Rosicroix, Stranger Encounters, and Fragments of Rosicrucian Wisdom. Let's see now how their timeline are connected. Let's start with the oldest of them. Jung was born in 1875. He begins to develop the active imagination technique around 1813, when he was almost 40 years old and had broken with Freud. He died in 61 at the age of 85. When Jung was 8, Lewis was born. He developed the mental creation practice occurring around the same time that Jung developed his technique of active imagination around 1915 during the preparation period of AMORC. Lewis died young at the age of 55 in 39. Johnson was born in 1921. He started his analytical training in 47 at the age of 26. Jung died when Johnson was 40, and he released his books in work in 1986 at the age of 65. He died in 2018 at the age of 97. Bernard was born in 1923. When he was a teenager, Lewis died, and at the same time he became a member of the Rosicrucian order. His Message from the Celestial Sanctum was released in early 70s, first in French, then in English, and later other languages. He was around 15 at that time. He died in 2006 at the age of 82. As you can see, both techniques were developed when their creators were young. They were in their 30s, and their collaborators were in their maturity. Regarding these two techniques that engage the subconscious and unconscious mind, let us start with a look at Jung's active imagination as described by Robert Johnson. In analytical psychology, the key concept is psyche, or personality. This structure that confers wholeness to a person has two areas: consciousness, whose center is the ego, and unconsciousness, whose center is the self. Let me show you. The ego and the self, the center of unconsciousness. Then consciousness manifests itself through a language of symbols, archetypals, and it was two natural pathways for breeding the consciousness with the unconscious self. One is by dreams, other is by true imagination. Both of these are highly refined channels of communication that the cycle developed so that the inconscious and the conscious level may work together. It's crucial to understand that when we approach the unconscious, we are approaching a powerful force field that is not subject to manipulation. Thus, one of the purposes of analytical psychology for human development is what Johnson calls inner work, a form of disciplined communication more practical than theoretical with the unconscious world to allow for the flow of that energy to be integrated into the consciousness, promoting a balanced personality. Persons alienated from their unconscious are equivalent to persons separate from their soul. Therefore, removed from a meaningful life according to this concept. Thus, each of us is a microcosm in which the universal process actualizes itself. Within the unconscious, each person has a primal pattern, a kind of blueprint. The goal of the psyche is the unification, the conscious and unconscious mind. In summary, active imagination is a process similar to dreams, but in the opposite direction, from the conscious to unconscious. A way of using the power of imagination to develop a relationship, dialogue between the conscious and unconscious mind. It is not just a type of mental evocation of images, a simple visualization, but a script for the ego, the conscious mind, visit the self, the unconscious mind, and to find elements to learning about oneself. a partner from those partnership emerge learning and self-knowledge, a path to convert the invisible force of the unconscious into a form visible to consciousness, a way for the ego to confront the problem in search of a solution. With the practice of active imagination, dreams dramatically decrease or seem more meaningful as the consciousness starts to flow through the path of the imagination. The steps of active imagination. Usually, people always have some kind of discomfort. So they feel uncomfortable, but they cannot understand why they are upset. The active imagination technique can be initiated with this type of problems. It seeks to confront this type of discomforts. The process has two phases and some different stages, but remember, you must persevere. The active phase has 4 steps. Find a private place. Face the problem you must confront, your discomfort. Make the invitation to the unconscious to be manifest itself. You can use a non-imagine that matched with the problem. In passive phase, you have 3 steps. After you prepare the way, you must leave yourself go. Flow in experimental dialogue. Let your mind work. Allow the imagination to take on life or to come alive. After the experience, take notes, record the process, and finally, make the integration and consciousness. Ask yourself, what is the moral of the story to your life? Okay, it's now time to look the mental creation as described by Raymond Berni. In Rosicrucian teachings, cosmic is a word used both as a noun, the being, the essence, the wholeness, the potential, also as an adjective, the manifestation, the existential, the quality, the diversity. It is a paradox, both place, everything, everywhere, and state, integrity, dignity. It is the totality of the laws and phenomena of the universe. It is the rawness of mind and the heart of each human being, a condition where time does not exist. In Rosicrucian tradition, egregiory is a union of minds where both master and students are together. A sacred place, a secret hierarchy of living and non-living minds around the Rosicrucian ideal, first visualized as a cathedral, today also as a pyramid of light. Let's see how this occurs. The base of the mental creation as a technique were developed over a period of 7 years, and it occurs according to the Rosicrucian tradition with the objective to create the foundations of the egregiory of AMORC. In summary, mental creation is a path to hiding the conscience to the self until it penetrates the conscience of the cosmic, a path for members to harmonize with the egregiory, a path for members to receive knowledge, a path for members to realize their dreams and aspirations, a path to give and receive healing. According to the tradition, it never fails, although you may not believe it. So, mental creation is a gateway for people to find happiness and realization. The process has two phases and some different stages. The planning phase, you have two steps. First, decide the purpose. Harmonize with the egregore to receive knowledge or invoke some personal benefits. Second, and most important, check on the legacy of your purpose to make sure there is no opposition to a social well-being. In the executive phase, you have 6 steps to contact the Celestial Sanctum, the egregore. Find a sacred place. Perform a purification ritual. Wash hands and drink some fresh water. Use an invocation or prayer. May the sublime essence of the cosmic infuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body, that I may enter to the celestial sanctum and attune in purified and perfect dignity. Visualize your purpose. Let your mind guide you through a process of mental creation, building your inner sanctuary, making it as alive as possible. After the experience, give thanks with a prayer. May the cosmic sanctify my contact with the celestial sanctum. So mote be. You can see an example with a variation in a personal benefits, the prosperity experiment. This is the prosperity experiment, a non-member work open to the public. First designed at Harmony Chapter, today Harmony Lodge, in Melbourne, Australia. According to the legend, it occurred from October 20 to November 28 in 1962. In the planning phase, is focused on personal benefits. Realize that abundance is all around you. Prepare a prosperity box in which we will put money. Define a possible monetary value for daily deposit. This action must leave a defined impression in your mind. So thinking carefully about this value, it's one of the most important parts of the process. Decide which institution will receive the money afterwards and use a notebook. The executive phase, find a secret place. Remember, the experiment takes 40 days. It's very important. Start with a Thanksgiving period for the abundance you all have. Remember, there is prosperity all around you. Put the defined money in the box. Visualize yourself living in abundance. Close with a prayer to say thank you for all the abundance that is around you and that will come to you. Each day, take notes in your notebook. After 40 days, take the money to an institution you previously defined. By doing this exercise, we will most linked with the see that your life is more abundant than you used to believe. But if you forgot a day, start again from the beginning. Okay, At last, let's see the possible dialogues between the techniques. Jung's proposal is with the scope of a methodological approach where the search for proof and efficient is based on replicability, while Lewis' proposal is in the context of traditional knowledge for a holistic nature with mystical symbolic emphasis and symbolic effectiveness. Let's see how the transdisciplinary active mediation can apply in each of these approaches. I've been showing this process since the beginning of my presentation. Now it's time to summarize it. We can make maps of conscience for both Jung and Lewis methods. Jung maps different levels of organization of consciousness as we see. The conscience level has at the center the conscience level has at the center the ego, and which is subordinate to a level of unconscious or archetypical, whose center is self. The entire structure is the result of the collective construction, evolution of humanity. This structures configures a great level of reality. So we can say that Jung creates a map to describe a level of reality and its internal level of organization and perception that works according to laws which have both positive and negative aspects described in his theory. To find and describe the organization of traditional logic is more complicated because we don't have a theory that makes the task a little easier. So we can say that Lewis also mapped two levels of organization of consciousness: the egregiory level, built by him and his collaborators for the Rosicrucian tradition. This level is inserted into a reality or in the cosmic field. So you can say the cosmic is the reality, not one level but all, or the holiness, the universal soul, coincides with the cosmic and has a counterpart in the soul personality. This part can develop the skills to make a conscience projection through mental creation at the level of the egregiory celestial sanctum or at the level of the cosmic to invoke all prosperity in life. And finally, we have the following frame between these two techniques. This is the comparative table of approaches. I want to explore it now because I've been doing this since the beginning. So I invite you to explore it in the paper in the current volume 15 of Rosicrucian Journal. Once more, I'd like to thank you especially for your patient attention.